Hello and welcome to the Talk Villa podcast. I'm your host, Samit Paul, and in this episode, we're unfortunately looking back at a defeat for Villa after we fell to a 1-0 loss against Everton on Sunday. Bitterly disappointing result. Impressive winning run at home comes to an end after 11 consecutive wins across all competitions at Villa Park, and it's particularly frustrating as we weren't able to take advantage of the favourable results elsewhere over the weekend. We had an opportunity to stretch our lead over the chasing pack in third. We saw the top two drop points, but unfortunately Villa weren't able to make the most of that as we fell short against Everton. As with every game, I'll be discussing my 5 key talking points as we have a deeper dive into that defeat to Everton. But first, let's have a listen to the boss, Unai Emery, and his thoughts on the game as he spoke to Villa TV.
As much as we needed to win to be better than we are now, of course, is becoming our frustration. But accepting, because we are doing a really fantastic season. But today we lost, and I won very good team. And when we played in Everton in September, it was a very different moment than today. But today we lost, and we must accept it and keep going. Today we are frustrated, and of course now I am not happy how we lost this match. But I must accept, and I need some hours to recover my again good form mentally to keep going, and of course how we are doing the season is really fantastic, but today we lost and we must accept it, and congratulations for them.
That was Unai Emery speaking to Villa TV after our 1-0 loss to Everton. So on to my 5 key talking points then, and let's start with the impact of injuries and a lack of options that are now hurting us. So we've seen Emery name 2 goalkeepers and talented youngsters on our bench on countless occasions in the past, and he's managed to make it work. But this time for me felt different. We obviously approved Daniel Marlin's departure during the week, and then it was unfortunate that Jadon Sancho then missed out due to illness. But Villa's options were severely limited in this one, and question marks for me have to be raised over our decision making that left us in that position. Obviously you can't account for the early injury blow. After 18 minutes, John McGinn had to come off and Evan Gasson came on. Jury remains out on him, as I'm not really enjoying what I'm seeing from him thus far. But Emery would have liked to have had that option in his pocket for later in the game to give us that fresh spark, injection of something in the final third, and he was forced into using our only real attacking option really early on. Emery's elite in-game management has made the difference for us on so many occasions, but if he doesn't have the options at his disposal to make that impact, he can't work miracles, whether it's getting injured players back sooner rather than later, or if it's bringing in reinforcements this month to strengthen the squad. Villa need to add quality and depth as soon as possible, and to get that ability to change games with options on the bench. That's been such a strength of ours for so long now. On to the second point, and that is an erratic Villa lacking our usual control. We've grown accustomed to Villa playing methodical, intricate football under Emery. He loves to control tempo and possession, and he obviously loves that extra pass as well in the final third to create space and pry his defences open. It's been a while since I can remember seeing us make so many wayward passes that went out of play. We snatched at chances throughout the game, and that wastefulness ultimately ended up being punished. Perhaps it was a lesson for us in controlling our emotions and maintaining composure and calmness. I think we tried to perhaps push it too much too soon. When we're struggling for rhythm and quality, there needs to be that sort of composure and level-headedness to keep plugging away and find the breakthrough. I don't think it will be a performance that Emery particularly enjoys when he analyses it during the week, but as I say, we snatched at a lot of opportunities. Pickford produced a hell of a save as well on Rodgers, so there were chances to get back into this and turn it around, but unfortunately we just lacked that killer instinct, that clinicalness in front of goal to make it happen. The third point is unfortunately on Emiliano Martinez's inconsistency continuing. Now, caveat is that we've seen him produce class time and time again with his decisive saves that actually impact the result of games. But I think he's becoming more and more error prone this year, and his inconsistency is rumbling on. Admittedly, you've got to look at Pau Torres as well. He must share the responsibility for the goal that we conceded, because it was his initial miscontrol that created the problem. But it was such a tame effort from Dwight McNeil that Martinez just has to do so much better with. Instead of catching it or pushing it out into a safe place, he's basically just palmed it back into a dangerous area to allow Tieno Barry to, in his fairness, apply a really clever finish. But again, it looked like Martinez was slow getting to him. He was stretching rather than getting to the ball. And it was just unfortunately, another mistake on his tally for the campaign. Again, like I say, it wouldn't come as much of a surprise if he produces a match-winning performance next time he plays, whether that's against Fenerbahce or Newcastle. But the errors that he's producing have become a real issue this season. We've seen them cropping up with greater regularity now, and they are costing us. So it's unfortunate, but that is something that we have to monitor in terms of his ongoing mistakes. The fourth point focuses on John McGinn's injury concern. Now, we've already seen Amadou Onana sidelined by injury, and hopefully he's not too far away from returning. Emery did say there's a chance that he might return to training this week. There's obviously the ongoing anxious wait to confirm how long Boubacar Kamara will be out. The initial reports that came out suggested that he might only be out for 2 to 3 weeks, but the way that Emery was talking in his pre-match press conference and the need for more scans, it kind of raises concern and it adds to the anxiety of waiting for the update. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a positive update this week when we get that. But we've now got another injury concern, particularly in our midfield ranks after McGinn was forced off after just 18 minutes on Sunday. There is concern because it's a knee issue. The way that he responded to it didn't look good, and to sort of force him off so quickly knowing that there was an issue, we are going to have to wait to hear what happens with McGinn. Now there's a scan expected on Monday to reveal the severity of his setback, but losing our influential captain for any period of time is a massive blow given the standard that he sets, the ability to sort of be that inspirational benchmark, to get the rest of the players to follow his lead. And that really further punctuates our issues given the absentee list is now growing. As I say, Onana hopefully will come back this week. Boubacar Kamara, hopefully the news is good, but losing McGinn would be a massive blow, and hopefully that isn't the case. To the fifth and final point, and that is George Hemmings emerging as a positive. Now, it is obviously hard to seek out positives when you're assessing such a disappointing performance and result, and I could have picked out other negatives and issues that I felt cost us in this game, but there was a positive in the form of George Hemmings getting minutes in the latter stages of Sunday's loss. Now, as I've previously noted, if you follow me on social media, if you read the newsletter, and if you've heard previous podcasts, and many of you will no doubt be already aware of the 18-year-old's talent and potential, but there is real hope that he can take advantage of this window of opportunities because injuries elsewhere are now presenting him with a chance to play. Emery evidently had enough trust and a belief in him to bring him on against Everton as we were chasing the game. I think obviously you've got to factor in the fact that there was an element of needing fresh energy in midfield too, but I thought the talented youngster applied himself well both in and out of possession. He tracked back, he worked hard to give us that defensive coverage, but I thought he was energetic and he was positive when he got the ball, kept us moving, kept us helping us trying to sustain pressure to push it on to Everton and try and find a breakthrough. So I was really impressed with him and happy with what he produced after coming on. It's likely that he'll get more playing time in midweek at Fenerbahce. I think there's a risk now with the absentee list that we've got. We can't now add to the strain of the likes of Yuri Tielemans and really increase his workload and risk him picking up an injury of his own. So I think this is an opportunity now for Hemmings to really get a significant amount of minutes. Hopefully he can continue to go from strength to strength with the experience and with the confidence that Emery gives him, and that he can emerge as a genuine option in our midfield for the remainder of the campaign, whether or not we see new arrivals in the coming weeks. So what were your talking points from our defeat to Everton? If you're listening on YouTube, leave your comments below. For those listening to the pod via Apple Podcasts, Spotify or other means, please head over to talkvilla.substack.com and get involved in the conversation over there by subscribing. That is a wrap on this episode of the Talk Villa podcast. A big thank you for taking the time to have a listen. Please subscribe to the pod or channel depending on where you're listening, either on Apple, Spotify or YouTube. Give the episode a like or leave a review if you've enjoyed it. Sign up to the Talk Villa Plus newsletter on Substack for ad-free Villa news, opinions and analysis, all delivered directly to you, as there is an option for a paid subscription as well for bonus content. All the details will be in the description of this podcast, but for more, please go to talkvilla.substack.com and subscribe there. So as I say, it was a disappointing and frustrating weekend for Villa as we slipped up and failed to stretch our lead over the chasing pack for third place. There's no real time to dwell on it though, as we've got Fenerbahce in the Europa League on Thursday, and that's swiftly followed by a difficult trip to St James's Park to take on Newcastle United on Sunday. It was already a tough week on paper, particularly given the state of the squad at the minute, but starting with a loss at home to Everton makes it even more difficult given that we've had a really good run of form against them in recent years. However, it's just time to regroup now, hopefully recover some injured players and perhaps even get a boost in the transfer market with reinforcements in the coming days. But hopefully we can bounce back immediately in Turkey and put this disappointment behind us. I'll be back later this week to analyse our upcoming games, but until then, up the Villa.